Members, it's time and we have a quorum. Welcome to the meeting of the panel on information technology and broadcasting. Item 1, information paper issued since last meeting. After the previous meeting, the Secretariat has issued one set of paper. There's referral arising from the meeting between electrical members and Sham District Council members regarding matters relating to the establishment of a smart community. Item 2, items for discussion at the next meeting. The next regular meeting will be held at 2:30 p.m. on Monday, the 8th of September. So far, one item has been suggested by the administration, that's work on safeguarding information security. It was supposed to be an item today, but it has been moved to the next meeting. Now we're still striving to have the item on the work of the Cultural Industry Development Office discussed, but the government said they would like to discuss it next year. If there are no views, item 3, latest progress of initiatives taken for combating phone deception and proposed enhancements to the real name registration program or RNR program for SIM cards. Members who would like to speak, you may now press the button. Please note that the administration is consulting members' views on the proposals. The government intends to introduce the proposals into LegCo in the first half of 2026, so we don't have to state our positions today. Welcome, Dr. Bernard Chan and your team, and also Director General of Communications, Mr. Charles Leung and his team. Dr. Bernard Chan, please. Good afternoon. The government has attached great importance to the effective operation of our communication system and its safety. Now, with the rising trend of phone scams and fraudulent messages, we have been striving to crack down on phone scams to prevent scams from happening. Now, I thank members for your concerns over the measures we adopt to crack down on phone deceptions. Now, today, my team, the police, and the OFCA will report to members our latest progress on combating fraudulent messages through the perspective of telecommunication networks and also the enhanced proposals for the RNR program. I will defer to the OFCA in a moment's time. Now, concerning the latest progress of measures to combat phone deception, OFCA and the police have established a working group with the major telecommunication service providers in September 2022. A number of measures have been implemented to combat deception at the source. These include promptly blocking phone numbers and websites suspected to be fraudulent. 2. Suspending services of phone numbers with specific operational patterns. For example, sending a lot of messages or making a lot of phone calls in a short period of time. Now, the phone services for these numbers will be suspended promptly. 3. Combating deception calls with the prefix 8+852. 4. We'll play an alert voice message for suspicious phone calls. And also 5. Having a new registration system for prepaid SIM cards. Now, we have seen great things after the implementation of the measures. Now, with the innovative scamming MO, we will not let our guard down. OFCA will continue to work with the police and the major telecommunication service providers to monitor the market trend. We will identify the risk involved and implement various measures to crack down on deceptions through telecommunication network. Now, in February 2023, we have launched the real name registration program for SIM cards. All SIM cards issued and used locally must complete real name registration before service activation. Now, 2 years on, we have taken a tally of the experience gained over the past 2 years and also the statistics provided by the police on syndicates using prepaid SIM cards to conduct scams. Now, we will propose some enhancement measures. First, we propose to lower the registration limits of prepaid SIM cards for individual users. The limit will be significantly lowered from 10 to 3. Second, we propose to establish new offenses for a series of improper use of registered SIM cards held on others' names. For example, providing or soliciting the provision of personal information for registration of another person's SIM card, and then selling, buying, leasing, renting, lending, borrowing, or supplying or acquiring registered SIM cards. And 3, possessing SIM cards registered with others' information. So these enhancement measures will crack down on the abuse of the RNR system and their misuse of personal information for registration of SIM cards. Now, in the following, I will defer to Mr. Charles Leung, Director General of Communications, to present a PowerPoint presentation, and then we will take members' questions. Thank you. Now, members are reminded that we have to hand the room over to the next meeting at 4:30, so I will not extend the meeting, so please be brief. Mr. Eddie Ng. Thank you, Chair and members. I would like to brief the panel on our progress of implementing anti-phone deception measures. Now, as the Undersecretary said, in terms of blocking suspected phone numbers and websites, as at May this year, we have blocked 9,000 local and non-local phone numbers and 50,000 web links. Now, according to the rules, telecommunication service providers must, upon identifying a suspicious pattern of phone calls received or made, they will have to suspend the service of the phone numbers. Now, as of May this year, we have suspended 1.43 million phone numbers service. Now, to crack down on non-local deception calls, TSPs have to block suspicious calls starting with the prefix +852 and also issue a voice or text alerts to alert phone users. Now, we have blocked 5.7 million suspicious non-local phone calls, and over 30 million voice text alerts have been sent. Now, starting from February 2023, the police has launched the Scam Meter Plus app. For issuing anti-deception warnings. Now, more than 980,000 downloads have been recorded, and also it has recorded more than 8 million searches. 1.04 million warnings have been issued, and 850,000 alerts have been issued. Now, concerning impersonating government departments, there is an internal mechanism for departments and public organizations to be issued with a designated phone number for communication purposes. Now, many TPS have been providing free of charge filtering services for elderly phone users. Now, we are also stepping up on our publicity efforts to enhance awareness in society. Now, in terms of the progress and the results achieved, since the launch of the RNR, enhancement measures have been launched. Now, starting from February 2023, TPS have to conduct random checks or sample checks on registration information of the PPS cards and step-up checks on suspected cases. Now, the users, subject to the sample checks, are unable to verify the information that PPS cards will be deregistered and cannot be used thereafter. As at the end of May this year, around 4.84 million PPS cards have been rejected for registration. 3.46 million non-compliant PPS cards have been deregistered. Now, starting from October last year, the OFCA has required TSPs to adopt I'm Smart as the default registration method for Hong Kong ID card holders. For non-Hong Kong ID card holders who register for PPS cards with online registration platform, the TPS will have to first verify their identification documents. According to our experience and according to the TPS figures, only fewer than 5% of the users would complete the required verification requests of the TSPs. Now, for those who fail to comply with the verification requirements, the PPS cards will be deregistered. Now, it shows that those users who are holding multiple PPS cards, possibly registered with ID cards or ID documents, which do not comply with our regulatory requirements, or they may have improperly purchased PPS cards registered by others. Now, from the same set of figures, PPS cards registered under the same Hong Kong ID or non-Hong Kong ID documents, for example, passports and other travel documents, with 1 to 3 PPS cards, accounted for 90% of all registered cards. Now, for SIM plan cards, they also account for 97% of the total number of users. Now, according to this number, to prevent abuse of SSP cards by criminal syndicate, we propose to significantly lower the number of PPS cards allowed for individual users from 10 to 3. Now, according to our market monitoring efforts, we have identified that there are some people who tout registered prepaid SIM cards through internet social platforms or provide information for others for registration purpose. Now, these are against the law and they may involve scam activities. So we are going to criminalize the following offenses. First, providing or soliciting the provision of personal information for the purpose of registering another person's SIM card. Selling, buying, leasing, renting, lending, borrowing, or supplying, acquiring registered SIM cards, and possessing SIM cards registered with others' information, unless with reasonable excuse. Otherwise, the possession of 10 or more SIM cards will be presumed to have the intent to use the SIM cards to commit a crime or facilitate the commission of a crime. Now, under the new proposals, if there are some reasonable causes for having more than 10 SIM cards. For example, an enterprise organization using the SIM cards for contacting customers or helping an elderly person to register the SIM cards as a family member. Now, in terms of punishment, we will pitch the offense for first offender as a level 4 fine, $25,000 and imprisonment for 12 months. The police will be the primary enforcement agency. The OFCA will work closely with the police to effectively combat these illegal activities. Now, legislative timetable. We will listen to member views and draft the bill promptly and introduce the proposal next year. Thank you. 11 members have pressed the button. Mr. Dennis Leung, Professor Chairman Kwong, Lam Chen Sing, Chen Siu Hung, Michael Tian, Chen Hock Fung, Professor William Wong, Mr. Chen Chen Ying, Ma Fong Kwok, Zhong Li Jian, and myself. Please be brief, 4 minutes, including questions and answers. Dennis Leung. Thank you, Chair. Now, the OFCA proposed to lower the limits of SIM cards held by individuals from 10 to 3. But the important thing is whether there is a central register recording the information. Now, the information is now being collected by individual TPS. However, to facilitate investigation, we need a central register. Otherwise, the police will have to reach out to the TPS. And also, it is very difficult for registrants to check how many phone cards they have. So to crack down on the virulent scams, will the government set up a central register with access by the government and the public? Sometimes it's very difficult to detect and trace the money in bank scams, so I would like to know more about this.
Deputy Secretary or Undersecretary. We do note the members' concerns. We will convey your views to the relevant departments. For citizens who would like to check a particular phone number to see if it is registered with a telco, or if they want further information, the OFCA can help citizens verify the identities for the citizens and follow up with the telcos. If one suspects their personal information is used by fraudsters, they should report to the police. Thank you. Anything to add? We are trying to go digital. We are working with the Digital Policy Office to make use of IM-Smart as a means of real name registration. All of the operators need to offer this channel for registration. If people opt not to use IM-Smart, they need other verification means. So in future, we encourage citizens to make use of IM-Smart, and we do not rule out the possibility of making use of IM-Smart as the sole means for registration to ensure information is authentic. I think this is an issue with identity verification, but I want to ask if the telcos will register the personal information they receive on a government database. You need to have such information. Do you have any plans for doing that? As I said earlier, we are coming up with the relevant measures. We will continue to liaise with the relevant departments on this. Thank you. Professor Cham and Kong. Thank you. Has the government compiled any statistics on this? You said 1.5 million phone numbers have been deregistered. Have some been used by fraudsters in scams? How many of such cards are registered with Hong Kong ID? How many of them were registered with passports? I think we need the data in order to see what we should target in our enforcement, whether it should be with the SIM card plans or prepaid SIM cards. So one can register not more than 10 prepaid SIM cards at the moment. There are no limits with the SIM card plans, and you have approximately 90% of the people having 1, 2, 3 prepaid SIM cards, which is why you are lowering the limit from 10 to 3. So if one has more than one telco SIM cards, it would mean a maximum of 12. Will you have a limit on an individual's possession of prepaid SIM cards in general? So if one possesses 10 or more prepaid SIM cards, one would be deemed to be suspicious and having the intent to use such SIM cards to commit a crime. How did you derive this threshold? Thank you. Undersecretary. Let me share with you some figures. Right now, we know we have over 14 million SIM cards. 60% of them were registered with Hong Kong ID, 40% of them were with passport, and 9.5 million of them had plans, and 4.5 million of them were prepaid SIM cards. As my colleague said, we make use of IM-Smart for identity verification. For those registered with their passports. We asked the telcos to have various identity verification measures to confirm the information provided is accurate. If one registers a phone number using a passport, it is only after the information is verified that the number is issued. And for a tourist, it would take at least 24 hours for a number to be effective so that in between information can be verified. If there is any false information provided, the number will be suspended right away. So the working group formed by various departments, as I said earlier, will continue. Excuse me, we don't have enough time. Can you give an answer to the two other questions? We are quite ambitious with our proposed amendments. We have referred to our experience in the past 2 years. We have also referred to the latest MO information provided by the police on scams. I understand what the member said. Even if one only possesses one SIM card, one may already be committing a crime with that SIM card. But then with the possession of 10 or more SIM cards, we would presume one to have the intent to use such SIM cards to commit a crime. All right. Your time is up. Let's go to the next member, Mr. Lam Chen Sing. I do understand why there is a need to reduce the limit from 10 to 3. But if the limit is reduced, the situation is more or less the same and you want to reduce the limit some more, for businesses who actually have such needs to have multiple numbers to, say, contact their members, it would be a problem to them. And I think this is not the most direct approach to address the problem. I agree with what Mr. Dennis Leung said. If we have a central platform, even if one has multiple PPSs, or if one has lost their phone or they want to check any information on phone number, one can do that. I think it's the same approach we took with EMPF. We need to make sure we can do something similar, even though EMPF is more complex. According to paragraph 16 of the paper, there are criminal offenses that are proposed, including the use of forged documents. Some are already existing offenses. Have you been enforcing against such acts? With new laws, I think there can be more targeted enforcement, but if we are not enforcing the law at the moment, wouldn't that be a problem as well? I'll draw the line after the end of this question. Thank you, Undersecretary. I will now ask the police to give answers to the relevant questions. Thank you. We do not actually have the specific offenses at the moment. In future, the police will be the ones enforcing the new offenses, and we will combat the relevant crimes. For the registered SIM cards at the moment, buying and or selling is not illegal, so there's nothing the police can do at the moment, Mr. Chan Siu-hong. I want to ask, for paragraph 21 of the paper, it says we have 1,816 phone scam cases. It is an increase of 379 cases compared to the same period last year. And according to the paper, we have some figures that have seen a decrease, including the numbers that have been deregistered, the numbers that were suspected of being used in scams and have been suspended, as well as numbers purportedly made from overseas. So we have seen a decline in the numbers, but then specifically for the phone scam cases, we have seen an increase. So why did we have this discrepancy? And it's not a small increase either. It's a 26% increase. Why do we have this? Paragraph 16 of the paper. We will have new offenses to criminalize the improper use of SIM cards. And I note the item Roman numeral 2. I have heard some concerns voiced by the public. So for the registered SIM cards, it says leasing or lending to a third party will be an offense, a criminal offense, no less. So we have some cases in which relatives coming to Hong Kong, they were lent SIM cards by their Hong Kong family and or relatives. So what is going to happen with such cases? Can you tell us in enforcement what you'll do? Will you only act on complaints or suspected illegal acts? If one is charged, one has to go to the court to explain themselves, so citizens are worried. Thank you. Undersecretary. For the member's first question, we have seen a gradual decline in the number of complaints. We have also seen the amount involved decreasing. As I said earlier, fraudsters develop their MO through time. So we need to see how we can try to detect scams that are made in different MO, but I think we have achieved some good results so far. I think, as the Undersecretary said, some measures are effective. Without such measures, we may even see an increase in the figures. So while we did see an increase in the number of phone scam cases, it is not a drastic increase. Is that what you meant? Well, I would say this. The increase has been smaller in recent years. Well, can you also provide and reply to the second question? If one has a reasonable excuse, I think one lending a SIM card to a relative is regarded as a reasonable excuse. The speaker's microphone is not on. If one possesses 10 or more SIM cards, one is presumed to have the intent to use such SIM cards. If one has 1 to 3 SIM cards, there has to be more evidence showing there is intent to commit a crime before one can be charged. But here in item 2, there is no threshold of there being 10 SIM cards. So if one leases or lends a SIM card to another person, will one be charged? I think as long as one has reasonable excuse, one is fine. Mr. Michael Tian.
Thank you, Chair. These are proposals for enhancing efforts on cracking down on phone scams. I fully support them, especially for criminalizing behaviors involving possessing of SIM cards in other person's name. Now, I would like to clarify something which perplexes me. Now, under the RNR program, there are still people who use others' personal information to register phone cards for criminal activities. For example, conducting debt collection, but there is no way for the victims to cancel their phone cards. Is that true? If this is real, then it is really outrageous. If someone has reported loss of their ID card, then there should be a mechanism notifying all the telecommunication service providers to suspend the service of the phone card. And it is even more outrageous when the TPS told the victims that their phone cards cannot be cancelled. So I really don't know whether these reports are authentic or genuine. Second, in December 2023, you rolled out the registration system of senders with the number sign prefix. Now, my ward office received complaints concerning scams involving Hong Kong e-toll. Now, curiously, this is a very common sender, but there is no number sign prefix for Hong Kong e-toll until we sent a letter to the Transport Department last year. It was not until last month that HK e-toll was given the number sign prefix. It's 10 months in delay. So that causes me to worry whether there are other similar organizations without the prefix. Can the OFCA or whatever department in charge coordinate the efforts and make sure that all government departments are given the number sign prefix within a period of time? Can you give me a promise now, or at least give me a timetable? 2 questions, Undersecretary. Now, that is a rather rare occurrence. TPS should have conducted checks under the RNR system and accommodate any inquiry. Now, we have sent a warning letter to the relevant TPS and remind other TPS to do so. So there is a mechanism for communicating with the TPS, but the TPS didn't follow the instruction. Now, there is a blacklist mechanism. Now, for ID cards reported lost, the number should have been put on the blacklist, and there is no way to use the ID card number to register for a SIM card. But what if I lost my ID card this morning, and then the very afternoon, someone used my ID card to register a phone card? Will the police immediately send a message to the TPS to cancel any SIM cards registered under my name? Mr. Tony Ho, Chief Superintendent of Police. Now, loss of ID card, the department in charge is the Immigration Department. Now, for the police, we don't have a standing mechanism to immediately notify the loss of ID cards to all the other service providers, including TPS. Well, can you do something? If the TPS aren't notified, then it will be big trouble. Please think about it. Now, second question, may I take the second question about the number sign prefix? Now, the OFCA has invited all government departments to participate under the Registered SMS Sender ID scheme. So far, 80 departments have enrolled in the program. Now, we will consider your suggestion. Maybe not an invitation, strongly request them to join. Mr. Chen Hofeng, I would like to ask questions about some figures. Now, just now, the Undersecretary said there are some 14 million mobile phone SIM card numbers in Hong Kong. So how many of them are registered under a fixed telecommunication network or landline? What is the ratio of cancellation between mobile phone numbers and landline numbers? I think only a small percentage of mobile phone numbers are involved in scams. Now, you set a limit. You are reducing the registration limit of PPS cards to 3. So why not 10? Why not 6? Or 1 or 2? Why 3? You need to convince the public with statistics to reduce the number of cards from 10 to 3. So what can be achieved with the extent of reduction? Now the numbers cancelled, how will they be treated in the future? Can they be reactivated through some processes? And how far apart? Under Secretary, I would defer to the author about the figures. Now, first of all, why 3? As I've said, some 90% of users only have 1 to 3 PPS cards under their name or ID card number. So pitching the number at 3 would minimize the impacts on existing users. Now, for numbers suspended, the users have to make a call to the author to provide verification information. Otherwise, the number will continue to be suspended. So if information are provided to author, the number will be reactivated. Author. Thank you, Chair. An overwhelming majority of the number suspended or blocked are numbers under PPS cards. And for most of the cases, no request would be made to us to reactivate the PPS cards so they remain suspended or blocked. So what's the percentage or the ratio of landline numbers or mobile phone numbers involved in scams? And also, as I gather, the blocking or suspension would be permanent, is it? Now, more than 90% of the blocked PPS card number would not be reactivated. If there are no calls made to author for reactivating the number will remain to be blocked. So it can be reactivated upon request. Professor William Wong. Thank you, Chair. Now, in preventing phone scams, has the police made reference to the mainland authorities' practice? That is, upon a check of your ID card, you can find out how many SIM cards or PPS cards are registered under your name. So a single inspection can review how many cards you have. So the users would be in knowledge of the number of cards they have. Mr. Tony Ho from the police, we don't have this service at present. It involves a large number of industries. It involves personal information, so we need to study it. Mr. Ronick Chen. Thank you, Chairman. In the first 5 months of this year, there's been an increase in the number of scams, but there is a reduction in the amount involved, in the amount of money involved. So it shows that the measures are working. Now, according to the author, most of the scam calls are made from prepaid SIM cards. Now, when citizens receive calls from newly registered phone cards, there will be a voice alert message stating that this call is made from a new PPS card. So can we have one more sentence? Please be aware of scam. Now that will even heighten the awareness further. So please consider my suggestion. Now about RNR. Now it's okay. It's definitely foolproof to use I'm Smart to register. Now in Macau, the immigration departments would check whether the document holder has entered Macau before allowing them to register the card. But in Hong Kong, it seems that our immigration departments do not check the entry record of the applicant. So can we learn from Macau? Now finally, about the number of PPS cards held. Now we are reducing the number from 10 to 3, but there are 29 TPS who are eligible for issuing cards. So we can assume one can apply for 80 cards at most. And also, enterprises are not limited. They can have no more than 25 cards under one TPS. So, do we know if crime syndicates have been operating under the name of an enterprise to register for a lot of PPS cards? Under Secretary, on the first question about the message played by the TPS, that is, this call is made from a new PPS card, that's a factual statement with a view to enhancing the recipient's awareness of scams. But there are genuine individuals and enterprises who would register new PPS cards and make calls for authentic purposes. So we will adjust the message according to the need. On your second question, we do share with TPS information about the anti-counterfeit characteristics of the ID cards to help them identify the authenticity of the documents. In terms of collaboration with other departments, we'll continue to expand our scope of collaboration. Now, third question about enterprises. The limit is 25, and the number will remain unchanged. Now, by way of figures, for individual cards, they account for 99%. For enterprise, they account for 1% only. Now, according to the police statistics on crime, the trend doesn't reveal that the criminals are operating in the name of an enterprise. In fact, more information is required for registration as an enterprise, including business registration certificates and business records. The cost to commit a crime is much higher under that method. And what about the maximum number of 87 PPS cards per person? At maximum. As we said, we are reducing the number of PPS cards held under one person's name with one TPS from 10 to 3. This is already quite ambitious. We have balanced the needs of individual and enterprises. Some people and some enterprises actually need quite a number of cards for different purposes. Can you give us some examples? For example, catering businesses, retail businesses, and frontline workers. Usually, the employers would register quite a number of prepaid cards for the employees' uses. So we have to balance the needs between law enforcement and the needs of the business sector. Chair, if I may, can we have a maximum number rather than 3 times 29? Yes. If there is need, maybe enterprises can have no more than 25 cards. Why should we allow them an avenue to have more cards? Now, from sample checking, we have 29 TPS. But they are of different scales. We have 4 major TPS, but there are smaller players. In terms of market ratio, the 4 companies account for more than 80% of the market share. So from our sample checking, we found that for users who have PPS cards under different TPS, usually the number is 3. That is, they usually have cards registered under 3 TPS. There's one case with 60 cards under 8 TPS. Of course, users can register a card with each TPS, but actually, each TPS has different clientele. Some targets foreign domestic helpers, some target visitors. So we don't think it is likely for someone to have PPS cards with all 29 companies. Usually, they will stop at a dozen.
We need to give more time for other members. Let's stop here, Mr. Ma Feng Kwok. We have 1.4 odd million cards that were suspended. So I think the police and OFCA have the relevant information now. So the channels through which you have such data are just from telcos information, or have you in some cases received complaints that many calls were made from some numbers, that the numbers were eventually suspended? You have much data. How can you analyze such data to see which numbers are used in scams? Once you have analyzed the relevant data, can you act on that, initiate prosecutions, rather than just suspending the relevant numbers? Or can you issue an alert saying that this number was used in a scam? So with such analyses, what actions will you take? Or do you have some figures that prosecutions were initiated on such data? Who's going to answer this question? Chair, I will answer this question. We will look at the frequency of calls made, the duration of calls, whether the recipients pick up the calls, to establish a pattern of a number that is suspected to be used in a scam, and then the number may be suspended. If one makes a call to us explaining the reason and the circumstances, then the suspension may be lifted. If we suspect information provided about their identities to be false, a report will be made to the police. In fact, multiple reports have been made by telcos to the police, and the police have acted on such reports and caught some fraudsters. I actually note in some recent cases, especially in a particular case, a fraudster was sentenced to 28 months of imprisonment for fraud on this. Thank you. Well, I think sometimes we have many of those in the criminal syndicate in scams will come to Hong Kong. But we also have people who are coming to Hong Kong as tourists who are also using prepaid cards. So how can we distinguish between the two groups? And have we any trends in which some of the overseas travelers have registered for prepaid SIM cards and then sold the SIM cards to other groups, to the crime syndicates? Well, I believe the police have been working with domestic helpers to enhance their awareness about scams so that we have more comprehensive publicity in this regard. The OFCA will continue to work with the police to have more public education initiatives. What are the latest trends? Mr. Ho from the police. We have publicity targeting the particular high-risk groups, say youngsters, elderly, new arrivals, and domestic helpers, as well as mainland and overseas students. I think the question was, say, foreign domestic helpers and other groups, have we any trends where once they have stopped using their cards were used by the crime syndicates? No, we do not have the relevant figures. Mr. Tony Zhe, we want to lower the number of scams. This is an expectation of society. The government has been collecting relevant data on scams, but we do see an increase in the number of phone scam cases. According to paragraph 21, we have now the monetary amount involved decreased by 950 million Hong Kong dollars, but the amount scammed is still quite a lot. We have much to do, and the government plays a key role. What has the government done in terms of verification? We need to verify people's identities under real name registration. And if one is irresponsible, one may be punished. I want to ask about paragraph 17 about the proposed increase in penalties. In how many cases have you convicted the relevant individuals? If one can escape the law, there is no point in you increasing the penalties. According to paragraph 9, we have some cases in which one has posed as a government official, and the government has a mechanism to provide designated phone numbers for government departments or public organizations. Why have some government departments not participated in the initiative? Undersecretary, one scam is more than enough, which is why we have been using a multi-pronged approach in our work. We will continue to review our measures with other bureaus and departments to see if there's any room for improvement. We have some new proposals today to criminalize improper use of SIM cards, such as providing or soliciting the provision of personal information. We will have increased penalties of a level 4 fine or imprisonment for 12 months to provide sufficient deterrence. We believe this is sufficient deterrence. But the problem is they have to be convicted. If they are not convicted with increased penalties, it is pointless. Well, of course, we will follow up on the complaints, and law enforcement agencies have been working hard. Once we have the new laws, I believe the government officers will work on this. How about the other question? Well, we have some departments that have already participated in the SMS Center registration scheme. We will continue to ask the government departments to take part. Well, I think government departments must participate in this because they should be on the front line on combating scams. Well, you should tell the departments if they do not participate in the relevant initiative. We will censure them. Dr. Junice Ho, I think we should exercise prudence in some aspects. I want to ask in particular for those who have registered numbers, prepaid SIM cards, or SIM service plans. Will they all be subject to the limit of SIM cards? For SIM service plan cards, they do not have a limit. Alright? For the new offenses, without reasonable cause or excuse, possession of SIM cards registered with others' information will be presumed to have the intent and so on. But this is regardless of whether one has a prepaid SIM card or SIM service plan cards. I may have an additional phone for the checking of, say, stock prices. So as long as I can provide a reasonable excuse, it will be fine. Yes. I don't know, I'm somewhat concerned. So for taxi drivers, while I do not agree with what they do, but some taxi drivers have 5 phones on their dashboard for receiving orders. So they may have multiple SIM cards or even SIM cards registered with others' information. If they have 10 or more SIM cards, they will fall into category 3. Actually, they may have more than the phones on their dashboard. They may have phones in the other parts of their car. Some may not be paid, but they still have such phone numbers. Will you see them as having the intent to use SIM cards to commit a crime? Are you referring to SIM cards registered with others' information? Right. And if that is the case, will they be committing a crime? As my colleague said, one has to have criminal intent. But then in category 3, one is presumed to have the intent to use such cards to commit a crime. So it would not be on the prosecution's part to prove that they have such intent, right? Let Mr. Ho from the police answer this question. Correct. In such case, the defendant has to prove why they need to have 10 or more SIM cards. If they have a reasonable excuse, then it's fine. I do appreciate the police's efforts or the administration's efforts so far. I think why not criminalize the offenses at the moment? Because it may scare people. Why don't we take a more gradual approach? Sometimes people commercially have such need to have multiple SIM cards. They may have multiple SIM cards to contact their mistresses. So I think this has made things a little too serious, especially when they have the burden of proof. Why can't we just disable the relevant SIM cards? Why do we have to criminalize the use of such SIM cards in that way? Under Secretary, we believe this is because we have observed an abuse of the real name registration program, and we have referred to the latest trends information provided to us by the police. We need to increase deterrence. We do agree with the member that we need to step up publicity. I'm not talking about publicity. Chair, if you'll let me follow up. There are multiple reasons why people would want to have multiple SIM cards. If they steal people's SIM cards, they have a particular offense, and if they have committed fraud with such, they are committing frauds and they will be charged as such. I don't think we should criminalize the improper use of SIM cards. Why not just disable the relevant SIM cards? I think you note the message of Dr. Junius Ho. This is something in principle we need to carefully consider the factors.
Mr. Peter Xu. Thank you, Chair. Now, with the advancements in technology, criminals don't have to hold a gun against your head to get your money. They can simply use the technology. So the enhancement proposals to the RNR is welcomed. I especially thank the police, especially the Chief Superintendent of Police attending the meeting today. The Scam Media Plus really filtered a lot of scam calls for us. and also the 18222 hotline or 18222. Now, there are some friends who told me urgently that they have been scammed. I asked them to make a call to 18222, and very swiftly, banks received a notice from the police and the transaction has been stopped. So I really appreciate your efforts. Keep up with your good work. Now, I endorse the direction of reducing the maximum number of PPS cards held by individuals. Now, as at May this year, some 1.43 million PPS phone cards have been blocked or suspended by the OFCA because of the operational patterns. Many of the phone cards were not reactivated. It shows that these are indeed PPS cards used for scams. So I hope that the government can keep up with this good work to reduce the workload of the police. Now, as mentioned by the Undersecretary in the opening, Hong Kong ID cards and passport holders account for 40% of the phone cards registered. But I don't understand why people holding foreign passports can register for 40% of our phone cards. And I thank the Undersecretary for understanding the needs of the retail and catering sectors for having more PPS cards. Now, maybe 29 phone cards held by one company is too much. I think if we let the enterprises choose to have 3 PPS cards under 4 individual TPS, that would be more palatable. And about what Dr. Junius Ho asked about the criminal offense. Now, let's say a daughter registers another phone card for her mother under her own name or under the daughter's name. Will that be allowed? Undersecretary, as long as there are reasonable excuses, for example, the one you mentioned, it would be fine. Now, about the percentage, now 60% are registered by Hong Kong ID card holder and 40% were registered with other documents, ID documents. Now, as an international city of travel, we have many visitors from over the world. So we will continue to monitor the figure. We will encourage Hong Kong ID card holders to use I'm Smart to authenticate their cards. For non-ID card holders, we will share experience with the TPS to help them authenticate the documents. Now, what about setting a limit of TPS allowed? As we mentioned, there are 4 major TPS and some 20 other smaller TPS. We are an open market. Now, in terms of infiltration rate and the scope of coverage, we are one of the best in the world. That is exactly because of our liberate policy. If there are restrictions, limitations, that would undermine our position. On the other hand, we will step up measures on other aspects to crack down on scams. I'm not saying that only the 4 TPS are allowed to issue PPS cards. He means an individual is only allowed to have PPS cards under 4 or 5 TPS. He's not suggesting that only 4 out of the 29 TPS are allowed to issue phone cards. Next, Mr. Ring Kong. Thank you. I agree that there should be a limit to the number of PPS cards held by individuals. Now, there are limits like 8, 10, or 12 in other places. But I don't think that should come at a price at people being scammed. Now, paragraph 16, there are 3 offenses. Now, the other secretary said there will be a maximum of level 4 fine, $25,000 and imprisonment for 12 months, and that will be sufficiently deterrent. Now, the penalty compared with other jurisdictions for improper use of SIM cards is on the low side. In other jurisdictions, the penalty level is several folds more severe than ours. So why did you say it is sufficiently deterrent? Now, if parts of the criminal behaviors take place outside Hong Kong and some within Hong Kong, will the 3 offences be triggered? Under Secretary. Now, in implementing the law, we will continue to review the situation. There are many offences which can catch such criminal behaviors, but for this piece of legislation, we will continue to review the situation and see whether the proposed penalty level is sufficient. What if some criminal elements take place overseas? That depends on individual cases. Now, if the name registered is fake, then we can pursue the case. In terms of the transaction, if it takes place outside Hong Kong, then currently, this piece of legislation has no effect because there is no extra judicial power. Now, since there is no extra jurisdictional effects of this legislation, we have to use other means to pursue the case and catch the crime syndicates. Now, there are still Mr. Chen Kin-po and Mr. Duncan Chiu, as well as I, who are waiting to speak, but I can't extend the meeting further, so I will give each member 2 minutes only. Mr. Chen Kin-po. Thank you. I will be brief. Now, with the number sign prefix, we can identify true callers, but in my previous oral question, I asked the government to monitor any suspicious cases where the number sign prefix doesn't work. So what is the progress? Under Secretary, that was a very rare case. It took place in a very, very short span of time, so it was a rare case and it's not representative of the system. We were able to catch the criminal swiftly and stop the criminal behavior. Now, with the technological advancement, I think that rare case will become more common, so you need to prepare in advance. So the number sign prefix has been bypassed. So are you confident in the system? Now, that's 2G generation technology. Only one TPS in Hong Kong is still using 2G technology. That remaining TPS has pledged with us that by the middle of next year, the 2G system will be decommissioned. So if there are other criminals using 2G technology to transmit fake text, it will be even easier for us to catch the criminal. Mr. Duncan Chiu. Thank you, Chair. Very briefly, I support the enhancement proposals to the R&R program. Last week in the Council, we had some discussion about that as well. Now, there is one more area which we can improve, that is passports. As mentioned by another member, in Macau, the immigration departments would verify the passport information for the TPS. In Hong Kong, the TPS has doesn't have the capability to verify the authenticity of the passports. Now about the prefix, the number sign prefix, there are some organizations still not using the number sign prefix. So some criminals may make use of this loophole to send text with very similar names to trick the victims. So should we establish a whitelist to ensure that all genuine organizations are using the number sign prefix? Under Secretary, we've heard Mr. Duncan Chiu's views. We will require the TPS to step up their efforts in blocking messages sent from criminals pretending to be public organizations. Now, TPS are required to step up their efforts in blocking fake phone calls pretending to be public organizations. And we'll continue to review the arrangements with other departments concerning enrolling under the number sign prefix. Now, Mr. Duncan Chiu, do you have to declare your interest? Yes, I'm a consultant to a telecommunication service provider. Now, I'm the final speaker to speak. I will be brief. I declare interest. I'm a consultant to a TPS as well. I agree that the number sign prefix, if we can fix the issue, then the system can continue to work. But it is really underwhelming since not all government departments have joined even after invitation. Now with scams going rampant and the number of victims soaring up, organizations who need to send text to the public should be required to get a number sign prefix before they are allowed to send the text to the public. Chair and members, thank you for your suggestions today. We will continue to study your proposals. Thank you. We are already overrunning, so we have completed the discussion of this topic. Moving on to the next item. Establishments of the Hong Kong Artificial Intelligence Research and Development Institute, or AIRDI. Welcome, government officials. Please be seated. Members who would like to speak, please press the button right now. I remind members, this item involves a financial proposal. If you have direct or indirect pecuniary interest concerning this item, please declare your interest in relation to Rules of Procedures, Rule 83A, in terms of concerning the nature of your interest. I also refer you to Rule 84 of the ROP concerning voting in matters in which you have direct pecuniary interest in. Welcome, Professor Sun Dong and his team. Now we have to hand over the room to the next panel at 4:30, so we can't overrun and we can't extend the meeting. I invite all members and government officials to be succinct. First of all, Professor Sun Dong, please give us an opening remark. Chair, members, good afternoon. Now, together with the Digital Policy Office, I'm attending today's meeting to brief you on the proposal for establishing the AIRDI. AI is the core of accelerating the development of new quality productive forces. It is a trend we must embrace and also a key battleground for major economies. By the end of 2022, we have published the Hong Kong R&D Development Blueprint. It prioritized the development of AI, mapped out the clear strategic directions and detailed action plan. Now we have a series of AI development measures to promote the R&D application, governance, infrastructure, and ecosystem development of AI in Hong Kong. Now with heightened geopolitical tension and AI competition in the world, we are at a critical juncture in developing AI. We need to stay steady and search for breakthroughs. Now, riding on the positive trend, we are aligning with the AI Plus strategy adopted by the country In the 2025-6 budgets, the government proposed to establish the AI to further the commercialization of AI and applications and R&D of AI along the upstream, midstream, and downstream transformation of R&D outcomes. Now, the R&D institutes will take charge to coordinate the development of AI ecosystem in Hong Kong with public interest in mind. They will strive for research, academic, and industry collaboration and enhance the ecosystem. Now, we propose the public functions of the AI RDI includes, first of all, engaging in breakthrough research. Second, fostering integration of AI technologies and accelerate the transformation of R&D outcomes, empowering industries to embrace new quality productive forces. And three, give recommendations to governments conducive to the promotion of AI development. Four, facilitates our participation in international exchanges and collaboration in AI. And five, enhance public awareness and literacy regarding AI. Now, the ARRDI is collaborating with various R&D institutions. The positioning of the ARRDI is different from other institutions. We hope that it will become a core engine for developing our AI to consolidate our efforts in developing AI ecosystem and also the allocation of resources. Now, the governance structure and core businesses and financial arrangements, as well as regulatory framework for the AIRDI, they have all been set out in the paper. Now, subject to the members' support, after gauging your views, we will flesh out the plan so that we can submit the financial proposal to the FC within this year to realize the commitments of the 1 billion Hong Kong dollar general non-recurrent expenditure to engage the relevant CEO and professional personnel so that the center can come into operation officially in the 2026-7 financial year at the earliest. I look forward to discussing this with members. Me and the Digital Policy Office will be pleased to listen to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sun. We have 9 members who have indicated their intention to speak. The order in which members are going to speak is Mr. Chen Xiu-hong, Professor William Wong, Mr. Lim Chun-sing, Dr. Lo Wai-kwok, Mr. Dennis Leung, Mr. Chen Kin-po, Mr. Michael Tian, Mr. Chen Chen-ying, and myself. I'll assign a 4-minute time limit. Questions and answers included. Please indicate whether you support the submission of this proposal to the Finance Committee for consideration by the administration, and after Minister Chen Xiu-hong has spoken, I will draw the line. Mr. Chen Xiu-hong. Thank you. The topic is very important. I very much support what is said by the administration. AI is the foundation for everything else now. In the budget and in various policy portfolios of the government, we now have support measures to develop AI. So I support this vision. But what are we supposed to do exactly? With investment and funding, we have the industry-oriented measures now. We see different institutions, R&D institutes, universities in Hong Kong, they are all researching AI. It is good because AI is so prevalent and we are trying to develop AI+. But do we need someone to lead by example, or do we need to consolidate efforts of different institutions? The AIRDI can be a leader coordinating the efforts of different institutions. The institute should lead in the efforts in developing new quality productive forces to ensure efficient resource allocation. So with $1 billion only over 5 years, so each year it would just be $200 million. We have also invested heavily in other institutions on developing AI, such as Cyberport, Hong Kong Guy. We have already invested in this. So wouldn't it be ideal if we can group the money and then distribute the money to institutions with reference to the projects they do? And we can make sure resources are allocated to universities with coordination. If you go through the EIRDI, some may say that the institute is trying to compete with civic society institutions. So can you tell us more about your vision in the end? Thank you, Mr. Chen. I think Mr. Chen's point is very much valid. The institute should be a leader. That is the consensus. So we have already invested in infrastructure and development of AI. We have, over the past 2 years, formulated some detailed plans, and we now have a good start in policy support, which is why we now have the foundations to establish the AIRDI. Of course, we are lagging behind the mainland. We need to catch up. Since we have the resources, we should try to do our best. As for AIRDI's vision and positioning, it's different from universities and other research institutions because all of the universities have their own institutions. So we are trying to lead the efforts, and we have 5 functions of the AIRDI that other universities and institutions cannot do. 1, we are trying to continuously promote frontier research in the AI field and foster integration of AI technologies. We understand institutions don't have the resources to go into frontier research, which is why the AIRDI will promote integration of research of different institutions. We also want professors to join as fellows or on a part-time basis or as scientific researchers. That's the first point. And we also need to promote integration. And we believe with the Institute we can do that. It can also help the government with recommendations to develop AI. The 4th function of the Institute is to facilitate Hong Kong's participation in international exchanges and collaborations in AI. Right now, we already have academic collaborations, but we need to strengthen that. 5th, we need to enhance public awareness and literacy regarding AI. A single institution cannot carry out the public functions we have in mind for the AIRDI. All right, Professor, we have some time constraints, so let's move on. Professor William Wong, I have similar questions. I note in the news that in future we will have the 5 institutes, and the AIRDI is one of them. I'm not exactly sure how work is to be divided. If I don't understand, I think the public does not understand either. We have before, say, the Astri and NAMI, they are to be combined. We also have the Research Institute of Textiles and Apparel. they will make use of AI as their foundations. So how will they apply AI exactly? As I often say, we need to have an AI plus plan to formulate our vision in the long term. We also can promulgate short, mid, long term solutions or approaches to realize our vision. You did say in paragraph 16 that an academic committee is to be established, and it is to comprise top international AI scholars. Can we establish this academic committee early on? We shouldn't wait until the institute is established to do that. Thank you. Please be succinct, Professor. Thank you. The AIRDI is an important part of the development of Hong Kong. And it will become a leader by example. This is a professional institution that will focus on fostering the development of AI for AI to be adopted by different institutions, enterprises. As for the academic committee suggestion, I do note that. I will discuss with other industry experts and Professor William Wong in future on this. Excuse me, I need to declare an interest. I am an employee of the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Mr. Lam Chen Sing. I support this project. AI is, of course, very important to Hong Kong. I will not speak in detail about this. So we will have $1 billion supporting the operations of the AIRDI for 5 years. If in the end it's not enough, the easy solution would obviously be the government injecting more funding. But if the government is in a difficult position, fiscal position, then it may not be as easy to do. Will the institute have other sources of revenue? It shouldn't compete with other institutions. It should not be trying to reap income from small and medium-sized enterprises either. So I want to ask about specifically the financial arrangements of the ARDI. I also note in the paper, in the first phase, we will have some 50 people for the institute, and that means you would be competing for talents with the other institutions, because I'm sure there aren't that many experts in Hong Kong. So how can you form this 50 people team? What are your plans? I will ask Mr. Tony Wong to answer this question. Right, Commissioner. Thank you. For the financing arrangements of the AIRDI, we want the institute to lead the development of AI in Hong Kong, which is why the institute will work with other institutions, enterprises, etc. We will have the institute build a bridge. We want to make use of a sustainable model of operation to develop more application scenarios of AI. We can have public-private partnership. We may receive private investment to support the institute's work. With diversified revenue sources, we should be able to achieve break-even or financial sustainability. The potential revenue sources would be realization of research outcomes, consultant services, and research done by the Institute, essentially solutions developed for other enterprises to attract private investment. In future, the government will closely monitor the situation and the performance of the Institute and make prudent analyses. The development of AI in Hong Kong is very important, but we also value financial sustainability of the Institute. With prudent management, we should be able to ensure financial sustainability of the Institute. We will consider multiple factors and make appropriate arrangements for the Institute in finances to make sure we are making use of public resources effectively. As for the team, we have now in our plans at the beginning of the commencement of operations a 50-person team. We have the Chief Executive Officer as well as someone managing operations. We also have those working in administration and accounts. We have 20-odd people who will be working in research. So they will be recruited locally in the mainland or overseas to provide support in research projects. We can also work with other academic institutions and universities. We have also support personnel that will do, say, qualification vetting. We need such personnel as well for administrative support. So not just for research, we can make sure other operations are supported. We need talents for education as well. So at the beginning, we will need a staff count of approximately 50.
So please keep to the assigned time, otherwise we will not be able to finish. Dr. Lo Wai Kwok. Thank you, Chair. In principle, I support the establishment of the AIRDI. But I have some questions about the core functions of the AIRDI. Now, R&D encompasses research and development. So what realm are we trying to develop and conduct research in? So before the establishment of the AIRDI, we need to figure out the specific positioning. Now, the establishment of the R&D center will be 50 strong, so I think it can only conduct research. If we are conducting specific research projects on AI, we will need far more personnel than that. So I hope the AIRDI will facilitate the application of AI in Hong Kong as well as industrialization of AI and also supports for industries with AI. The center should play a coordinating and leading role in this aspect. Now, with the R&D institutes, we can promote collaboration between research, industry, and academic sectors. So I think if that can be achieved, the institute's establishment would be justified. But my view is we should have a more clear positioning for the R&D institute before its establishment. Now, AI is the buzzword. Everyone is talking about AI. But it involves a lot of personnel and investment, so that is the challenge. Professor, thank you, Dr. Lo, for your suggestions. Now, as a public research organization, there are 5 roles assigned to the ARDI. Its roles include promoting the development of the AI ecosystem with the leadership of the government. Now, AI, unlike other industries, has to be developed with a coordinated effort. So there must be a coordinating body. Now, the 50-strong establishment is just for the 2 initial years. There will be other arrangements in the future. The Institute will collaborate closely with other universities. We will reach out proactively to the research teams in other universities. That's the common approach used by other places. Now, there will be 50 permanent staff as well as other part-time staff from other universities. So we think this is a pragmatic plan. Its goal is to empower industries by collaborating with industry players. Now, we want to establish this platform as soon as possible. Now, with the leadership of the board of directors of the ARDI, work plans will be formulated and we will present the plan to members in the future. Mr. Dennis Leung. Thank you, Chairman. Now, in the mainland, it would be the national ministries to assign tasks or projects to the universities based on what the country needs. In Hong Kong, however, we have a UGC Research Grants Committee. However, its direction is not aligned with the development goals of the government. Now, this proposal is about establishing the AIRDI. So this is aligned with the government's direction. In the future, Northern Metropolis University Town, the universities there should also focus on development of AI. So how can we ensure that in the future there will be proper utilization of resources without overlapping? We need to see actual results which can help Hong Kong to become an international R&D hub for real. So that's exactly the aspiration of the public. So with the professor's leadership, how can we pull all the resources together and focus them on actually making things happen to boost our economy and attract talents to Hong Kong? Professor, I thank Mr. Dennis Leung for his support for establishing the Hong Kong AI R&D Institute. Now, concerning universities' research projects, I have taken note of your criticisms. It's exactly because of the academic freedom enjoyed by universities that we have the prowess to develop AI. Many of our universities are ranked top among the world in terms of AI development. It's exactly because of this freedom that we have the foundation for developing AI further. The next step should be consolidating and enhancing the efficiency of the resources. We need to transform R&D results in terms of AI into tangible outcomes. That's also the mission of the Hong Kong AI R&D Institute. Now, concerning your concerns about the positioning of the universities in the Northern Metropolis Uni Town, I fully agree. We will take on board members' suggestions. So in the future, me and my team will continue to listen to your views on how we can maximize the potential brought about by the Northern Metropolis to continue to build this key industry that is AI in Hong Kong. Mr. Chen Kin-po. Thank you, Chair. First of all, I support spending $1 billion on establishing the AI R&D Institute. I will be brief. Now, there was a question about income stream or revenue stream. Now, will the government purchase the products produced by the AI R&D Institute? Will the government be the main sponsor of the R&D Institute? Now, with Cyberport, HKSTP, and the Hong Kong Park of the Hotel Loop, will there be clear division of labor so that the resources can be utilized efficiently? Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chen. Concerning use of resources, I will defer to Mr. Tony Wong. Thank you. As Mr. Chen said, that is exactly our plan. We will engage the AI R&D Institute to conduct research, and we will adopt the results. Now, for our own pain points, we will ask the R&D Institute to come up with solutions to help government departments, including the Digital Policy Office, to further the use of AI. Thank you. What about division of labor? Will there be a clear division of labor between other organizations? Now, about our collaboration with Hong Kong Guy, as mentioned by the paper, the Hong Kong Generative AI Research and Development Center, or Hong Kong Guy, will collaborate in depth with the AI R&D Institute, including the computing power and also the patents or intellectual properties obtained. Now, the products developed by the Hong Kong Guy will be used by the government. So the new institute will collaborate with the Hong Kong Guy to further the development of these products and also engage in AI-related research projects. I will elaborate. Now, the Cyberport and the Hong Kong Park have different positioning with the R&D Institute. Those are technology parks. This is a research and development center. Now, Hong Kong Guy is one of the technology development center under the ITC's purview. Now, in the future, after the three initial years of running, we will consider how Hong Kong Guy can collaborate with the R&D Institute. Mr. Michael Tian, thank you. Now, I think you are targeting a lot of elite researchers to come to Hong Kong to work in the institutes. Now, I pick the wisdom of Professor Shen Xiangyang. He said, the salary or remuneration package is not the sole factor of consideration for researchers. He thinks it is more important to have more GPUs assigned to researchers for their research. If there is cost, they will come. So if there are not sufficient GPU assigned to the researchers, they will not come. So instead of CPU, we are talking about GPUs nowadays. Now, the Hong Kong Guy has procured 1,000 GPU or display cards with $500 million. So I asked how many cards should be assigned to each researcher to persuade them to come. Professor Shen said 20 is the minimum. Now, paragraph 20 mentioned that data and computing power are the basic requirements for R&D. Now, computing power as well as the hardware and software of the Hong Kong Guy would be accessible by the Hong Kong AI R&D Institute. So this means that the institute will share the 1,000 display cards with the Hong Kong Guy. So will there be sufficient GPUs? for attracting researchers to come work for us. Now it costs $500,000 per display card. So I don't know how much will be left after the establishment of the Research and Development Institute to procure more GPUs.
谢谢田议。
Thank you, Mr. Tian, for your questions. Your observation is correct. For the development of AI, recruitment of top-notch talents, computational infrastructure is very important. And for how many GPUs we are to assign professors, it's never enough. Even thousands of them wouldn't be enough, not to mention 20 to 30. So it is about how we can pool resources, set up a public facility, so that when needed, we can provide adequate computational power. A few cards wouldn't be enough. So it is about how we can consolidate resources so that those researching AI in Hong Kong can have the computational resources they need. This is why we have to establish the AIRDI as well. From what I heard the professor say, they needed to compete for resources and there was much downtime. And in the end, that should be gifted to the government, right? I think even hundreds of units wouldn't be enough. So it is about how we are pooling resources together in future. You don't think units should be assigned to individuals. Right. It's about allocating resources when needed. And one doesn't need to use that round the clock. They only needed such intensively for a short period of time. All right, thank you, Mr. Chen Chenying. Thank you. Other members asked about some financing arrangements, but then there was no clear answer from the Secretary and Commissioner. We will discuss this at a Finance Committee meeting after the summer vacation, but it seems for the $1 billion, it will cover the costs for the first 5 years. How you're going to sustain operations after 5 years, you need revenue sources. I believe once you submit the proposal to the Finance Committee, you need to elaborate on this. Because if not, you may need to ask for funding again in the 6th or 7th year. You may not need to provide details today. If you do not provide specific figures at the Finance Committee meeting, many members will be concerned. For the AIRDI, last year the country promulgated the AI Plus initiative. In paragraph 7, you said specifically we are to align with the National AI Plus initiative with the establishment of the AIRDI, but with the key fields such as cross-boundary data flow and collaboration with elaborate collaborations. How can we have in-depth collaboration with some institutions on the mainland, specifically the Pengcheng Institute, so that we can have better synergy? Thank you, Secretary. Thank you for your support. $1 billion is indeed a small amount. Look at what is happening in other mainland cities. But what can we do? We must catch up. We must start somewhere. Otherwise, we may face even more challenges. But then, I think with challenges come opportunities. Before, with the AIRDI, we could only allocate $200 million, but now we have much more. I think you can see with more projects launched, resources follow. So getting funding is only a part of it. It is about allocating resources to the right areas, to the right talents to make things happen. Funding is important, but it's not everything. In future, there is much potential. We got an investment of $200 million already with Hong Kong Guy. So it's good that we have some good results from the AI team, and we hope that they will continue to do good work. As a public institution, AIRDI has some public functions to exercise. Trying to earn a revenue is important, but as a public research body, AIRDI would definitely need the support of the government. Research institutions in general need to be getting self-financing income. That's our vision. We have many AI R&D institutions that are able to achieve that. So that's our vision. Due to time constraints, I'll stop here, please. Mr. Tony Zhe. I very much agree with what is said for the vision and mission of the AIRDI. I am more concerned about the division of work. We need to make sure there is no overlap of resources allocated to the institutions. I want to point to paragraph 20 in particular. The institute is to construct a high-quality data park, and that in paragraph 7, we talked about how we are to align with the National AI Plus initiative. So with us trying to have cross-departmental and cross-sectoral data sources, and how we are connecting to the databases, what are we going to do exactly? Here in paragraph 24, it is said to achieve financial break-even and sustainability, we will have some funding sources, including commercialization of R&D outcomes, and the board of directors of the institute will thoroughly examine the relevant financial plans. Do you have a concrete timeline for the board to be established and the examination of such plans? Secretary, thank you. For the cross-boundary database, it is work of a large scale. I think the institute should focus on the functions it is supposed to exercise before that. We can use data if some conditions are met of the mainland in Hong Kong. So we should leverage that on that advantage if needed. In future, with the board's leadership, the AIRDI's research team should be able to flesh out some feasible good financial plans. That is ideal. I think you should give a timetable for the board of directors of the AIRDI to complete the relevant work. Well, the AIRDI will run for at least 5 years, and then by then they should have a self-sustaining income through collaboration with industries. And we have seen with other institutes a significant revenue source would be private investment. I have drawn the line, but we have some time. I will not ask questions. I will let Ms. Yong Ho Yan speak for 1 minute for you to talk about your stance. I support the establishment of the ARDI. I do note members' concerns about the financing arrangements. I hope the Institute can achieve its targets so that we have a focal point in Hong Kong for the development of AI, and that it can radiate to the rest of the Greater Bay Area. The Institute can lead by example so that the development of AI can start from the Institute. I also note many talked about Hong Kong Guy. I hope that we can make good use of locally developed applications and make sure it can be used in different scenarios. I think this is another direction that the Institute can take. It is important to commercialize research outcomes, but it is also important to profit from it. I know the government is already looking into it, but I hope in future we will have more concrete details for members' consideration. All right, it's now my time to speak. All of the members who have spoken today support the proposal to establish the AIRDI. Members just wanted you to provide more information about the positioning of the AIRDI and its collaboration with different institutions and enterprises. It may be easy to say that there is collaboration. It is hard to implement. And how is the Institute going to lead the efforts? Some members also raised concern about resource allocation, that they shouldn't be overlapping in resource allocation. We also want to cover all areas that we want to study. How can the Institute do that? All of that, it may be hard. So when we get to the Finance Committee meeting, you need to have a more detailed proposal. And we also need to make sure we have financial sustainability of the operations of the Institute 5 years later. Members have expressed their support for the proposal. We'll go into any other business. There's no other business meeting adjourned. Thank you.